Hello folks, many thanks for joining this week's Tiger Bite, bringing you all the news, views and interviews from Glasgow Speedway. I'm Derek Smith. Well, in a week that's been sadly dominated by trauma and tragedy, I think it's a bit of a blessed relief to revert back into normality just a little bit and talk some Speedway tonight. I hope you'll agree. And to help me navigate my way through a preview of this weekend's action, let's call in Speedway Star correspondent Brian Copeland. Good evening to you, Brian.
Good evening, Derek. You're making me sound quite professional there. That's a bit kinder than your usual introductions for me.
Well, that's letters after your name, Brian. That you are the correspondent. Brian. First things first. Just a quick look back to Sunday's fun interview with Messrs Parker and Chazak in Adelaide. It was a fun interview to do, and some good reaction from the Speedway support out there.
It was maybe the sort of several hundred Jack Daniels and Cokes that they'd both had beforehand might have helped. But yeah, no, it was great fun. Great to see those guys in good form, and thanks for all the interaction we got on social media. It was fantastic to see so many people enjoying it.
Yep, thank you very much, folks. Okay, Brian, let's preview. Look forward to a couple of rather big meetings for the Tigers in the next few nights, starting tomorrow at Sheffield, of course. A couple of it's not going to determine our fortunes this season, of course, but we'd like to keep up that run that we've got of claiming points home and away.
Yeah, we're on an impressive run at the moment. I don't think any other team has matched that so far, but I think it's fair to say that tomorrow will probably be our biggest test so far. I know that several of the riders have already said that. Sheffield are on fire at the moment, particularly at home, and the likes of Kyle Howarth's in the form of his life. So it's going to be a tough task. But I think, given the form that our guys are in, we can go there with a bit of confidence. I don't think we should be going there scared of them. And our top three in particular have been in some remarkable form in the first few weeks of the season. So there's certainly one to look forward to.
Well, as everyone will no doubt have observed, we have a special guest tonight to help us preview our trip to Sheffield and our home meeting against the Panthers on Saturday night. Good evening to you, Richard Lawson.
Good evening. Hello, everyone.
How are you enjoying the sunshine today, Richard? You were telling us before.
Yeah, loving it actually. At the minute, it's I think it's about 26 degrees down here, and just been in the garden all afternoon trying to get a tan.
Very nice, Richard. Very nice. Richard, last week was a big news week for you on a personal level, with the announcement of your doubling up role with Premiership Somerset. And we'll come back to that and talk about that in just a little while. But looking at Glasgow and no further than your own form so far this season at Ashfield, have you ever started a season quite as strongly and consistently as this one?
Probably not. No, it's been really good. I think there's only been a one-off meeting that I didn't enjoy. That was the away at Scunthorpe. Apart from that, I've been driving away pretty pleased. So it's good. It's a good start, and definitely something to keep building on.
Richard, you're now. Sorry, Derek. I was just going to say, Richard, the Speedway Star figures are out for the most recent averages, and I think you're in the top 5 there, and you're also second in our averages. I think it just kind of proves how strong your start to the season has been, and perhaps a continuation of your form in the latter part of last season.
Yeah, it's always nice to be in the top 5 or so averages. It's a good indication of where you're at against the other guys. So. And I think I'm right in thinking there's 3 of us in the top 5 at the minute, so good for the team also. I think there is definitely more to work on. Not 100% satisfied, but it's a great start for sure.
A great start, Richard, on a personal level and at a team level, as you've just highlighted. 3rd season with Glasgow now, and we've had a couple of successful, strong seasons in the last couple of years, but I would suggest we haven't started a season quite as strongly as we have this one either.
Yeah, I think our home form is really good, and like you touched on, we're picking up points away, whether it just be that 1 point or so. I think they're all crucial, and I think everything's coming together as a team. The new guys, the young guys that they're coming to and chipping in with the points. There's a touch bit of pressure on the top 3 to score them big points, but that's what we're there for, and I think it's got a good look to the team, and we got Nike coming back this week as well, so that's another good addition.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, Richard, Sheffield, as we have already touched on, are in fairly imperious form at home at the moment, and they've got a particularly strong top five. Where, if any, is there a weak spot, and where can we sort of target tomorrow to try and get a point or two off them?
It's a tough one, you know. I think a lot of people keep putting a bit of pressure on the top three in our team, saying we need to score the big points, which is fine. We're all trying to do that. But again, it is a 7-man team, and it is for them as well. We need everyone to be trying to do their bit and a bit more. And I think when it comes to them tough teams like Sheffield, we can't afford anyone to have an off night, and as they can't either. I think if a couple of their riders have an off night, that's our chance to capitalise on it. So I just want to try and get around the boys tomorrow and get them all fired up, so we're all firing on all cylinders, should I say.
Richard, of course, Owlerton's a circuit which you've had many laps around. You almost done a full season for Sheffield without signing for them a couple of years ago. It's a track that, as I say, you've had some individual success as well in League Riders Championships, etc. Must be one of the circuits that you most look forward to racing on.
Yeah, I do. I've always had some good meetings there, so it's a good racetrack. There's plenty of lines. It's fun to ride. I like the fast tracks as well. I like the small tracks also. But yeah, there's something about the place. I do enjoy going there. It's only a half an hour drive there. That helps. I enjoy that. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a good racetrack, and I've had some good meetings around there. So you kind of go there with that positive thing in your mind that you've done well there again. So hopefully I can repeat a bit of that tomorrow.
Richard, one thing that Stuart said in the lead up to this match was he mentioned something about having fast engines for all the riders when they go to Owlerton. What does he mean by that? Because I would have thought that you would always have your fastest engine in your machine.
Yeah, it's not always the case. There's strong engines, soft engines, and for instance, the engine I had at Rye House was quite a lot softer. Top speed's probably about the same, but they're built differently, and for the bigger tracks, you need a strong engine that's going to allow you to take the teeth off the sprockets and go faster in general. But yeah, it's just a different setup inside the engine, but we need everyone firing, like I said earlier, and I think if we can share some of this on some of the younger guys in the team and get them going as well, should be good.
Richard, Sheffield have been identified as a much fancied side this year, perhaps alongside ourselves and one or two others, to chase the honours. You've seen the Sheffield riders at close quarters this season already around Owlerton. Anything we should be too frightened of?
I mean, obviously they're doing well. We shouldn't be frightened at all, and I'm definitely not. I think we're going to their track. They're expected to win, so the pressure is on them, and you need to take advantage of that. We can ride that track pretty well. We've got some riders in there, and I love the track as well. So yeah, I don't fear them at all. I think we've got a really good chance, and we should be looking to take some points away from them, definitely.
Excellent. Good attitude, Richard.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier, Richard, you obviously had some big news of your own last week, joining a Premiership club in Somerset to double up with them for the campaign. First of all, just your thoughts and feelings on signing for a Premiership team. I know it's something you've been keen to do since the start of the season.
Yeah, a bit of a relief, to be honest. We had a bit of a nightmare in the winter. There were teams interested, and almost there with a couple, and it fell through at last minute, and then I just had to accept, right, we're going to start the season without a team, and you never want to see a rider injured or anything like that, but I thought that a team place would come up relatively quick, and you always get underperforming riders in different teams, and obviously Somerset were having a bit of trouble there, so once the opportunity arose, I jumped at it, and I was over the moon.
Richard, keep me right here, because Aaron and Richie and yourself have been quite vocal about looking for an opportunity to double up in the Premiership, and of course there's some financial ambitions that are behind that desire. But from a racing, a sharpness, a schedule point of view, help us just understand just why it's so important that you're much busier as a speedway rider.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, if I hadn't have had my 2 meetings last week with Somerset, then I wouldn't have been racing for literally, it would have been a 2-week gap. And that's no good as a racer. You need to be sharp going to them tapes, and you can go to practice and do that, but there's nothing that prepares you for under the race, under getting against 3 of the guys and behind them tapes. You know, the pressure of the whole evening, you can't replicate that. So to get 2-3 meetings every week consistently is quite important for a rider.
Richard, in your first 2 meetings, you mentioned there you top scored, I think, in both of them and hit double figures. You can't have really wished for a better start. Anything you can put that down to? Just perhaps you were eager to go and do well in your first couple of meetings?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always giving it my all, whether it's for Glasgow or Somerset or, you know, guesting, whatever. I will always give it my all. But, you know, I did focus a lot on that meeting. You know, it was my chance. You know, I could have been easily fired out the team as quick as I was in if I hadn't done any good. So I wanted to impress, and, you know, I felt I was ready to do that. And, you know, to come out, I think I got 15 points at Somerset, and, yeah, I had a few good races there. So, you know, I was over the moon.
As meetings go around Somerset, Richard, that must be as good a score as you've ever had.
Yeah, I think it is. I think like my best there is, I think I got like 12 or 13 in what would be Premier League a couple of years ago or last year. I can't remember when, but yeah, I think it's different when you're there as a home rider as well. Straight away, a few of the guys were telling me a few cheeky lines and different things with the setups that I hadn't tried already. So that helped out a lot. And I think just riding as a home rider, you know, you're not, when we've always gone there with Glasgow, you're racing against guys that are riding there every week and they have the upper hand straight away. Whereas when it was against Righthouse, when Righthouse came, they hadn't seen it. And, you know, you got to capitalise on that. I'm not saying it was easy, but it's better being in the home side than the away.
Something we actually discussed ourselves last week, Richard, was the fact that in a few weeks' time, of course, the Championship Pairs takes place at Somerset, as it traditionally does. That will potentially stand you in good stead for a selection for that, and a chance better than ever to go down there and do something in that competition.
Yeah, yeah, I've enjoyed it in the past, and we've got to the semi-finals a couple of times. I think when me and Aaron rode for Redcar, we made the semi and didn't get through. And then again with Glasgow, we made the semi. Unfortunately, lost out to Edinburgh, so that was a bit of a pill to swallow. So yeah, I'd like to go there and kind of redeem that and do well at that event. It's a big event. You get a lot of fans there, and it is a good one to be a part of.
How important a track like Somerset is track knowledge. It's obviously, you know, a lot of people see it as being such a fair track, such a good, you know, racing track, and that's obviously why, you know, part of the reason why it hosts an event like that. Is there anything you can use in terms of home track knowledge, or is it just too fair with a field as good as that?
No, I think there is definitely a home track, and I think if you look at their record in the past, they've always been strong at home, and I think it is part of the circuit. Once you get it dialed in, it can be really, really good as a home rider. There's lines out there that work to a certain point, and then that line will be no good, and you'll be back to the inside. And it's finding them points in the meeting to use these lines, and also the setups and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely there is an advantage, definitely.
Richard, you've acknowledged your own start to this season for Glasgow, at least, and you've started very well for Somerset as well now in the Premiership. Can that only be a good thing as far as Glasgow Tigers are concerned, that we're going to see a sharper Richard Lawson, I guess?
Yeah,
a happier Richard Lawson.
Yeah, for sure. It's yeah, like I said, the more meetings I can get, to an extent, once you ride, and I think at one point I did like 9 meetings in 10 days, and that pushes it a bit. But if you get like 3 meetings a week, that's a good base, and it does. You're ready to go when you come to the tapes. You're keen to get out. You're not rusty. You're not stiff. It's just it's ready to go. And if you're scoring good points, whichever club you're in, then you carry that confidence on to your next meeting. And you know, I think a lot of people do say, oh, when they double up, they can get a bit tired. The machinery gets tired. But I mean, I think anybody that's doubling up these days is fit enough and should have the machinery up to standard anyway. So that's not an issue for me anyway.
Excellent. Thanks, Richard.
On last week's show, we read out a message from you, Richard, just to say, how delighted you were to have signed for Somerset. And the point you touched on, it's something you've been quite vocal about in the past, along with the likes of Richie Worrell, was you feel as though there's a lot of British riders that perhaps aren't getting the opportunity to race in the top flight, or maybe being overlooked for other riders. Is there anything you feel should be introduced or needs to be introduced to the way the system works, to try and give British guys perhaps first look over some others and getting those slots in the Premiership and the Championship?
Yeah, exactly that. I think you've got to put your British riders first, especially when I was on a difficult average. It was quite high with the way it had gone, and I think that made it difficult for a team spot and for people around that average as well. I don't know what they can do, but it needs to be a priority. You've got to look after your Brits. The Danish club that I've signed for, Slangerup, next week, in fact, no, tonight, they're meeting. They've got, I can't remember who they're racing against, sorry, but all 10, there's 5 riders in the team, and 10 riders, they're all Danish. And I've never seen a meeting in Britain with all British riders. I'm not saying that that's the way to go, because there is better riders to replace, but I think there needs to be some kind of system put in place that we do get looked at, get first shout at least.
Very interesting thoughts, Richard. I know a lot of people out there watching this programme would not disagree with you. Richard, talking about all things British, if timing is a factor, then you're joining Somerset and picking up extra meetings and getting sharper, etc. Must have come at a very good time, given that we're only 1 month away now from another British final for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a better engine now than I had when I done the British final last year. I got this new engine off Peter John's late last year, and it was instantly a lot better. And it does work better on these bigger tracks as well. So it should be good at Bellevue. So I'm excited to just ride it there for one thing. And it's a competition that I've got better at over the years. And I think I made the semis the last couple of times and just missed out. So I'm keen to try and get in that final for sure.
Tell us, Richard, if you may, your thoughts on riding that Bellevue track, because Brian mentioned Somerset is ranked as being a fairly fair circuit, and I guess the new Bellevue track equally is quite a fair looking circuit. Is it a track that you must have optimal setup to score points around?
Yeah, I think setup is key on them kind of tracks, and there's a lot of race lines, and it's a fair track. It's there's room for passing, and there's loads of room for, if you make a mistake, you're not going to end up in the fence. It's one of them tracks where you can really wind it on and get going. And then you see videos popping up every week of somebody at Bellevue having an amazing race. It is one of them circuits that produces the racing, and it's an exciting one to ride as well. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to it.
So are we, Richard. So are we. And for just a little bit further on from the British final, of course, comes the World Cup, and I know that every British rider would probably aspire to be in that World Cup squad. I think you've been in the kind of fringes of it a couple of times, but it's obviously tough to get into that top 4. But I guess the move to Somerset mustn't do your chances of that any harm, and if you can put yourself in the shop window, you might give the sort of team boss a bit of a headache.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, but I don't know what's happened there. Like, I finished in the top 5. I was like 5th in the British final last year, 6th the year before, and I've always been in like the top bracket of the averages. So I don't know what Roscoe does pay attention to, because I never even got invited to the training thing at the beginning of the year. I think there was like 20 Brits there, and I never even got an invite. And I was like, I actually phoned him up and I was like, "Do you remember me?" And he's like, "Oh, I forgot to ask. I forgot about you." And I thought, oh well, I'm not really high up in your books, so I know I just have to do what I'm doing, and hopefully he does take note of it and see what happens. But you know, I'm here if he does ring me, I'll be ready, and I'd love to be a part of it for sure.
Richard, you mentioned your Danish club Slangerup. What's the agreement with them in terms of utilisation?
Yeah, well, it's a squad system, so I'm ranked as a B rider, and in every meeting they'll have 2 B riders, and currently they're using Mikkel Mikkelsen and Kenneth Hansen, and there's another Polish kid, but yeah, currently they're using Mikkelsen and Hansen, and I got the call just a couple of days ago. I was saying Hansen wasn't 100% fit and I might be in, but he's gone through a fitness check and he's all right, so he's going to ride tonight. But I think we're and they have taken note of my scores at Somerset, and they've been watching my scores at Glasgow, and they seem pretty impressed. So I think we should get a meeting over there fairly soon as well.
Excellent. Keep up those high scores, Richard, and Roscoe included can't ignore you, surely.
Hopefully not.
And the squad system's an interesting one, because it's something that you know, repeatedly fans over here ask for the authorities to introduce. Is it something that, you know, having had a bit of a look at it yourself, is it something that you think's feasible over here?
You know, I mean, it probably would work. I'm just trying to think of a rider perspective. I don't know if I would prefer it or not, because, you know, if you have a little bit of an off week, then you might not be in the team the next week. Whereas now, if you have a bit of an off week, you're still in until you get actually sacked. So, yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm all for whatever's best for the sport, really. I think if you've got 7 good riders in a team and the racing's good, then whatever. I think it's up to the BSPA to sort that out. But whatever, if it helps the Brits, I'll get behind it. Whatever the case, I think something needs to be put in place for the British guys. I don't know what that is. I haven't got the answer to that, but whatever it is, I'll try and support it.
Richard, before we take a look forward to our next home meeting at Ashfield, Saturday night against the Panthers, I want to take a look back at the last one a fortnight ago, and the normally mild-mannered Richard Lawson was remonstrating on track with Jonas B. Anderson. So are you able to talk? We've seen the heat of the week. It featured within the TIGERBITE show last week that involved Rennie Bach. So any fans out there who haven't seen that heat of the week, call up TIGERBITE from last week, the Rennie Bach interview, and Richard's Heat 14 clash with Jonas B. Anderson is featured in that. Richard, what do you recall of it, and what can you tell us was said afterwards?
Well, it was kind of blown out of proportion than what it should have been. But from my perspective, there was a little bit of a history there. I can't remember where it was, whether it was at Redcar last year or back at Glasgow. It kind of turned left or right on me on the straight, which as a rider you shouldn't really be doing. In the corners you can move each other out, but on the straights you've got some speed going, and obviously we've got no brakes and doing that kind of. So I kind of knew he was one of them riders anyway. You have a little notebook in the back of your mind, like I remember that one. And so I was off gate 4, I think he was off 1, and I'd made a decent start off 4 and he'd come from 1. And obviously I've come off gate 1 numerous times, and you know where you want to be, and he kind of missed that and just went straight for where I should have been. And I'm not one of these riders that would go down first. But if I go down, it's because I can't stay on the bike. I don't ever lay it down and think, oh, it'll be all 4 back and we'll give it another go. If I can stay on it, I will stay on it. So I managed to stay on it, but came out last, and I was like just fuming under the helmet. And so right, try and catch him back up and get him back. But I caught him back up on that last lap, and then as I came alongside him along the finish line, I kind of just looked over at him and pushed him a little wide after the race, which some people wouldn't agree with, but it was heat at the moment, and I was a bit angry. And then after the race, he came over to me and started saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Few expletive words in there, and you know, I was ready to forget it and just go back to the pits. But when he started saying that, and I just said, listen, if you want a word with me, come and have a word without your helmet on, because they're all the big men with the helmets on. So that was basically it, and that was it. I went back to the pits, and he took his helmet off and just walked straight past me. So I went and walked up to him and said, have you still got something to say? So you know, it was just heat of the moment things, and
sure.
Yeah, it's racing at the end of the day, and emotions run high. But yeah, he's got another scratch against his name in the notebook.
No, absolutely, and these things happen, and I don't think anyone was critical of the fact that it happened at all. And it's a dangerous enough sport, as you know much better than I do. But all's good in the end, and
Yeah,
as you say, another little mental note.
absolutely.
Looking ahead
Gives
to
the fans something to talk about as well.
Absolutely. It's looking ahead to Saturday then, Richard. Obviously home to Peterborough, a team who are quite hard to predict at the moment, and I know they've got a couple of injuries in their ranks as well. I think the league is so unpredictable. It's hard to tell what kind of challenge we're going to get at Ashfield from week to week. What kind of match are you anticipating on Saturday?
Yeah, like you say, it's well, I can't really say much at all. I know they've got a couple of riders out, so I don't even know what 7 riders they're going to field. But I think we say it every time on track walk. You can't underestimate any team, and that's a funny sport is speedway, and sometimes you think the easy meetings are going to be easy, and they're just not. And vice versa. But that Edinburgh match, we were all set up for like a nail biter there, and it ended up just being a bit of a walkover. But so we'll prepare ourselves just as normal and get fired up for it and just see what it brings.
And I noticed, Richard, in the way that Stuart's lined up the team tomorrow night at Sheffield, at least. I'm not sure if it's the same riding order for Saturday, but you're back with a number 5 race jacket.
Yeah, number 5 for tomorrow. I think he hasn't really explained it. He just texted in the group text to all the riders what the team was, and I was at 5, so no problems with that at all. I think he just seen my form over the weekend and probably looked at results from Sheffield and thought maybe a bit stronger in 8:13 if I'm at 5. Looking forward to that. Back at 3 for Saturday. Aaron's going to be at 5 on Saturday, so we'll see how it works out. And Stuart normally gets these kind of things right, so we'll see.
The thinking man's team manager.
That's one thing to call him. On Saturday, obviously the big focus is at the moment is on just getting everyone back on form. I suppose some of the riders have had the sort of hit and miss season so far. The likes of Tom Perry has started to impress recently. What have you thought of his performances over the last couple of weeks down at reserve?
He's impressed me a lot, actually. I think he's doing better than I anticipated. I like his style. I like the way he rides a bike, and I know he prefers a bit of dirt on the track. I notice wherever we go, he kind of just goes for that outside and gets in there, and he can really make it work. He knows how to ride the bike, and he's fully in control. So, yeah, he has impressed me. And if he ends up not even at reserve and coming into the main body, I think he'd be able to handle that.
Richard, we mentioned earlier your 3rd season as a Glasgow rider now. I just wondered what your thoughts were on the switch to Saturday night in terms of how that affects the track.
I think earlier on it was when the weather's really cold, the moisture kind of when it starts getting really cold halfway through the meeting and the lights are on and stuff, the moisture starts coming back out of the ground, and the slicker parts of the track are quite tricky. But in general, I think it's better. I like riding under the lights. I think there's a better atmosphere there, and I think it's also easier to prepare. When we were riding on Sunday afternoons and it would be really hot, we were just having to get water on. It would dry out and there'd be dust. Whereas at nights we shouldn't have that problem. Once there's plenty of water on it, it shouldn't dry up. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
Good stuff.
Well, hopefully, I think the weather's predicted to get even hotter this week, and I did see some mention of thunderstorms as well. So hopefully they bypass Glasgow on Saturday night. So we end up with too much water. But here's hoping the track conditions stay fair for Saturday, and you and the guys can go out and get another home win. And thanks for joining us, Richard, and to preview both meetings. And hopefully your good form continues.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. No worries.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. And if you are travelling to Owlerton tomorrow night to cheer on Richard and the lads, get behind them, get some vocal support to the guys on track, and hopefully Richard and the team can bring us back yet another vital league point. And if you're not able to go down to South Yorkshire tomorrow night, then we look forward to your company at Ashfield this Saturday. Tapes up at 7 o'clock against the Panthers. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, folks. Thank you for joining. Good night.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.